What is up, everybody? My name is Roy, aka DJ Purple Yams on SoundCloud, and I'm here to review Lighting in a Bottle Festival 2024. Alright, let me ask you guys this question first. Do you like raves and festivals? Do you like Baldur's Gate 3? Do you like the Krakoan era of X-Men? Well, what if there's a festival that has all of that and more? Welcome to Lightning in a Bottle 2024. I can honestly say Lightning in a Bottle was one of the best festival experiences I've ever had of all the 10 years I've done raves and festivals. There's literally so much to talk about when it comes to this festival because it was everything, everywhere, all at once. Like, it was damn near like a pocket dimension in California. So let me just start off by saying that this festival has a very strong ethos when it comes to their attendees and their culture. So I highly encourage you all to check out their website, specifically the first timers guide if you're planning to go, because they have the 6 ways of LIB, which kind of sets the standard for like the mindset of going into the festival. And you'll understand why once I explain more of the details later. So I took down my own notes after I went to the festival, and I also read several reviews that people have published after that weekend was over. And one of the quotes that I wanted to share was from Stephen J. in the Indie Review website. So Lighting in a Bottle has been described by burners, which are people who go to Burning Man, as a kind of Burning Man light. It's child-friendly, has access to delicious food, clean water, and world-class programming. But instead of throwing people into a hellcape, it offers a paradise, where logistics can be a pain. LIB is an easy 2-hour drive from a major international airport. And to go for 5 days gives just enough of a separation from the norm to allow its attendees to be changed and bring back new perspective to the real world. And I definitely agree with that because honestly, how smooth the organization was at the festival and how easy it was to drive from San Francisco Bay Area, it was it was very accessible. I didn't have any issues with that at all when it comes to logistics. So I'm gonna share y'all all the details in the later chapters of this video. Before I start with the rest of this vlog, I do wanna share a little bit about my background. So I first started raving at Electric Daisy Carnival in 2014. Yes, that's my first rave. I decided to go big because, I really just fell in love with house music that year. So I was like, why not, right? Like, I just wanted to check out every single facet of the genre, right? So, why not go big? I've been immersing myself in the scene and several festivals ever since for the past, 10 years. Usually I do have this personal tradition of going to EDC every 2 years. So I went 2014, 16, 18, and then, something happened in 2020. So we went back to 2022, okay? And I did declare it was my home festival for a while, but something was telling me to try something new for my 10-year of raving anniversary. So Lightning in a Bottle has been on my radar for a while. I initially scheduled it for 2023 because usually the gap year between my EDCs would be like the time to explore other festivals. But that year I had to save up money for the Philippines, for my family trip. So I decided to postpone that to another year. Luckily, I found out that my college friends were going to LIB this year. So I decided to replace my typical EDC tradition with this new festival. And honestly, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Because literally, it changed my perspective on how festivals should be, I would say. Also, I think it was just the perfect time to start off this next decade of festivals and raves with fresh energy. And yeah, like I said every time, standards are much different now after this experience. I do have my notes here on the side, so I'll be occasionally glancing back and forth just to make sure I get all the details correct. With just a brief overview of the festival's location and dates. LIB is located at Buena Vista Lake, which is near Bakersfield, and it was about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from my place in the Bay Area. So it was a pretty easy, short drive compared to when I go to EDC for Las Vegas. That takes about probably like 10 or 15 hours depending on the traffic. So it was a nice change for that. It is usually during Memorial Day weekend, so you have the holiday off just to give you enough time to kind of settle down from the festival, which is great. You have the option of either purchasing a 5-day festival pass, which starts on Wednesday, or a 3-day pass starting Friday. Since it was my first time, I decided to just do the 3-day pass and the car camping. And I will go through the details of my car camping setup with all the packing essentials that's there in the later half of this vlog. But for now, let's get started with the ticket options and the traveling logistics of getting there. Once I get over this speech impediment, it's over. So purchasing a ticket was pretty easy, as with major music festivals now. They do have a tiered system, but they also offer layaway plans as well. So they can split up your payments over several months. In my case, since I'm a returning attendee, I was able to get the tier 1 early bird pricing and the layaway plan. So I only paid about $35 a month for the next 10 months until the festival happens. So it's pretty doable, it's pretty accessible, and again, it's everything that you'll experience at this festival is so worth the price. The festival does offer several accommodation options, such as car camping, RV passes, group campsites, and tents and RVs that are already set up for you. So you can check out all those different options at their website. They do offer general parking passes as well, but if you want the full LIB experience, I highly recommend checking out the camping or RV options. The RV is what my friends did. They had a bunch of people together to pitch in for a rental RV, because you have so many activities from morning until pretty much the next sunrise. So I think it's just best to like be as close to the festival grounds as possible, because you have free flow of going back to your campsite and back to the festivals at any time, as long as you have your pass. Festival gates open at 10 a.m. every day. I arrived around 10:30, and it only took me about 30 or 45 minutes to enter the campgrounds. So it was a very smooth process. They just had to check if all your passes are there and if you have the correct decal on your car. It's all detailed on the LIB arrival guide that you receive, which has your wristband and all the stickers that you have for car camping if you're doing that. So once you have settled in your camp, you can enter the festival grounds as many times as you want. You can bring a floaty to the lake, you can take the daytime workshops, you can set up your hammocks by the trees, or even check out the artists early in the lineup. Sometimes you can even catch a couple of the later artists do their sound checks. There are plenty of side quests to explore throughout this festival, so I'll go through as much as I can through the festival app and the map layout that I'll show you. The LIB Festival app is a very user-friendly experience. There's a lot of really handy information and little sections that you can explore in that app. Compared to other festivals like Coachella or EDC, the festival area is a lot smaller, but it is very straightforward in terms of general directions and pathways to points of interest. So what I really appreciated about LIB's layout is its crowd flow. So instead of having the usual cross-traffic from several stages in other festival layouts, you only have a two-way flow from one end of the festival to the other side. Okay, so starting from the top of the map, you have the lightning stage, which is the main stage. I really loved how they have the giant googly eyes on the top of the stage, so it looked like a nice little friendly metal monster looking over the crowd. That was pretty cute. So right opposite of the lightning stage is the thunder stage, which, you know, makes sense, right? Lightning thunder. I did notice for that one, they had a lot more bass artists on that stage. But not all of them. There's definitely like some other genres of artists there as well. Next stage on the map is called the junkyard, and it's literally made of like recycled or repurposed materials, which is pretty cool. Like it just, you know, matches the ethos of the festival. What I really liked about that stage, and a couple other stages as well, is that they had a bunch of elevated platforms that you can climb. So they're not VIP sections, which is usually the case in other festivals. They remind me of like kind of makeshift, you know, tree houses or outposts where you can just like climb onto the platform if there's any space and just, you know, dance around there or just look at the crowd and people watch. So that's a really nice feature. It's like right next to the lake too. So if you're like having your floaty on the lake, you can just go to the junkyard stage, climb up on one of those like platforms and just like have a little party for your own. Next pair of stages, which are kind of like, you know, interchangeable venues throughout the day. They're called the Crossroads and Lighthouse. So basically those two areas, they're kind of like workshop venues in the daytime. So you can see a bunch of various workshops. It's either like about wellness or meditation. In the lighthouse, it's a gong sanctuary in the morning. So you can go do some sound bathing there in the morning, which I did. It was really nice and relaxing. And then at nighttime, they switch over to like a bunch of DJs. So it really depends like, who's booked there, right? But again, those are two places where it could vary from, day to day, like what kind of activity is present there. They have an elixir bar, and I'll put a picture up here. They have really nice, like refreshing, like herbalist potions. I would call them potions at this point because like they got some pretty interesting ingredients, and sometimes they're like mood enhancers, sometimes it's like just for physical well-being, right? But it's a really nice like kind of bar to explore all these different tonics. It kind of gets you going through the day, so it's really nice to have that option to explore all those different mixtures and stuff. Next one is the Grand Artique. Artique? I think that's how you say it. So the Grand Artique is a bunch of like various acts, including live bands. It kind of looks like a old town, like a little Western old town space. And sometimes they have storytelling, just bringing out that inner child, right? It's a huge mix of different things. They're really not limited to any genres, because at one point I would like stop by there, it's a DJ. The next hour is some kind of like, live band or some kind of performer. So it's a really nice, like a variation of acts there. This little mini stage on the side of the lake is called the Martian Circus. They are a live band from Mars. That's all I'm gonna say about that. You're gonna have to find out when you get there. The Stacks is where the real bass heads are at. So like if you love bass music, you're gonna head to the Stacks. So, and I mean people that like, when I say bass head, I mean people that literally like ride the waves of the bass right next to the speaker. And I'm actually hoping that all those people next to the speaker have like good ear protection, because they were like, it was a sight for sure. It was a sight. Like I loved seeing how immersed they were in the waves. It looked like they were vibrating with the waves too. So again, like that, if you want to be a bass head and reunite with your tribe there, that's your spot, the Stacks. Also, what I really want to highlight about the Stacks is that the stage has a bunch of like elevated platforms as well, kind of like the junkyard, and you can just climb them and like get a better view if you want to be there. Also, just highlighting that again, like I just love how height inclusive this festival is, because I'm 5'6", I'm a short king, so I really appreciate how there's these different options for people to like view the stage and still be close with a crowd, but not exclusively separate in like a VIP section or something. So I just love that part of the festival. At the very bottom of the map, you find the Woogie, and this is literally my favorite stage design, because I just love how the structures they made look like the underside of a mushroom. It had a bunch of multicolored fabrics that just kept flowing with the wind, and it just looks so organic. It's so organic. Like I can just get it at Whole Foods, the stage. No, but no, that's what it reminded me of though. Like it looks like the underside of a mushroom. I just love how at nighttime the effects of the flowing fabric in those structures really give off like a fantasy vibe when you're there, especially when like the weather is like having that nice little breeze moving it around. So below these different structures, there were also like elevated tiered mini stages, and I call them stages because like I feel like when you're on those things, it feels like you're a part of the show. You're at the same height as the DJ or whoever's performing at the Woogie, and it feels like you're one of those performing artists on that little platform. So yeah, I like how they have that, but also like at daytime they have like the misters around it as well. So I remember like dancing on top of these little, mini stages, and then it was like bright and sunny still. Everywhere else around the festival it's pretty hot, but like even though it was crowded at the Woogie stage, like I didn't feel overheated. I was still able to like dance my ass off like comfortably and like have a good view of the stage as well. So
That was pretty cool. The Woogie's music choice definitely like matched its design, I would say. So whoever curated the Woogie, like y'all did it. Like y'all understood the assignment, because there's a lot of like funky house, but also at some points there was like drum and bass. What I mean by that is that all the funky house and all the other genres that get played in that Woogie, it really matches the atmosphere that that stage gives. I would kind of like imagine it as like if you were like a fae creature, or like, you know, a fairy, like a dwarf or like an elf, right? It feels like you're going to like a disco party underneath like these gigantic mushroom structures. If I were to make a very specific like Dungeons and Dragons reference, it would literally be Sylvania in the Outer Realms. If you know that, then you know, but I'll have y'all like, you know, Google that if you don't know. So that's the Woogie. And then the final set of stages that are not really on the map, but you'll see them moving around, are the moving art cars. So these are different themed stages. I feel like they're just owned by like people with like a license to drive them at the festival, and they just bring them in anyways. Because it feels like, you know, they all just kind of like engineered this thing to like bring to LAB. But I saw like a Yeti Appa looking car. I really thought it was like Appa at one point, but I also saw it looks like a Yeti in the front. And you can just hop on this thing while it's when it's moving around, and like, you know, be in its mouth even. I saw people like lounging around at the tongue cushion of this like Yeti car thing. There's also a fruit parade. Like, it's a fruit parade. There is a banana stage with like a DJ on top, and they just kind of like go around the festival and like, you know, play their stuff. And then the last art card that I saw was like it looks like a cuttlefish, but also like a dragon, but it's like a rainbow like flashing creature thing that had many waving tentacles. That's honestly how I can describe it. I just love the creativity that goes into it. It's just amazing to see what people come up with, and they just bring it to the LIB. So those are the different kind of like music hotspots, okay? So going back up from the bottom of the map, we have a bunch of different points of interest. You have the learning kitchen, which is where you can, you know, learn recipes, take food samples, and maybe integrate some new like food knowledge into your wellness routines. There's a bunch of different workshops you can find out there. There's a chai ritual, there's a cacao ceremony, there's even like fermentation for gut health, all different kinds of things. A lot of different like presenters there. And there's even one where you can learn how to grow your own mushrooms too, or, you know, gourmet cooking, of course. However, I do have a criticism that I'll save for the very end of this vlog about maybe one presenter in that learning kitchen, so I'll save that for later. The next part is called the Haven. So I think this is more of like a holistic wellness services area where you can actually like book someone to do different kinds of services like body work. Because there's a bunch of massage therapists, there's aromatherapy, there is cupping, there is acupuncture, and of course you have, you know, the oracle, tarot, and you know, astrology, psychic readings there too. So you can just go to their directory and like, you know, schedule your booking and have that service there. The Compass is a set of, I would say, learning classrooms where you can engage in a lot of like interactive stuff, workshops and classes. When you look at the classes in the schedule on the app, it honestly feels like you're signing up for like classes in like Hogwarts, because there's a lot of really like magical, mystical stuff to talk about. One of the classes I went to was about the astrology of astronomy, and the other one was like an alchemical kind of like classroom sharing their like, you know, esoteric knowledge about like different herbs and like different kind of like elixirs and potions, all those things. Because you have one of those huts called the Oracle Cauldron, and I think that's where all this esoteric like kind of mystical stuff go. And there's another hut where it was talking about environmental topics. So that's like an eco-centered space to have those discussions. So it's a bunch of different things you can have. You can look at the schedule. It's right across from the lighthouse, and it kind of goes in tandem with like all the different themes they work with already. So those are different workshop areas as well. Right across from it, there's the Sacred Fire. It's really nice to just relax by the lake. There's a bunch of benches there and like elevated platforms to just, sit by the fire and just kind of take a breather, right? I had a lot of insightful moments there with a bunch of people. It's a nice place to chat and like have a conversation and, connect with someone, because they really hold this space for a bunch of people to just like kind of build community around it too, and learn about the intentions of creating the Sacred Fire. The next point of interest in the map here is Luna Yoga. So that's one of the 2 yoga spots where you can take a bunch of classes. And I think they also provide some yoga mats available, but they encourage you to bring your own yoga mat. So that's another place where you can like take some yoga workshops. Then you have this place called the Mixtape. Me and my college friends explored that first because one of our friends that already went to the festival last year told us about it. So we wanted to check that out first, but it's basically like, it looks like a grandma's house. Like it's a very like kind of vintage retro, like little living room space. And then the walls are full of like cassettes. And then I think there is a DJ booth there. I know people were saying there was someone that can like actually take the cassettes and like play them for you. I just can't really recall the details right now, but you can pick and choose the cassettes, and I believe you can play them in that little kind of like tiny micro stage. So it was a nice little living room size spot to like listen to that old music. Next area is the Unicorn Palace. So I didn't really get a chance to be part of one of the activities there, but I believe it's a bunch of, I saw some circus acts or like acrobatics. I think some magicians performed there too, but there's another little place to check out if you're into that stuff. Next one is called the Fire Flow Zone. So I am not sure if these people are actually part of the festival, but there was a bunch of people just like bringing in their fire flow items and then getting the fuel for it. And then they were just like literally just doing their flow art. So yeah, it was a bunch of like sandy area, obviously for, fire reasons, right? I believe people can just like bring their stuff there and be part of the whole like space, as long as you know how to, properly do that, right? But again, I'm totally not sure if you are supposed to be part of the festival to do that, but it seems like it's open for the ones who are actually fire flowers. There's also, so this place on the map called the Hoo-Ha. I just love that name. That's a lot of like where the amenities are at. The lost and found lockers are there, and lockers are super convenient. I would say it's a nice hub of where the festival amenities are at. Another part of that area, which is also present in another part of the festival, is the first aid, but also the sanctuary. So I really want to highlight the sanctuary because it's a nice space to like calm down if you're feeling like overstimulated about anything. You don't have to be intoxicated to be there, but if you feel like you don't have the best feelings or like you're having a challenging experience on something, you can head to the sanctuary, and there's a lot of like peer support that's just there for you to listen. Maybe even if like you just had an argument with your group or something, or you're not having like the best time with like whoever you're with, you can just be there and talk to someone, and they can help you like work through those feelings and like understand your emotions about it. I just stopped by there because also one of my friends worked there too, and I just wanted to check out the space. But it was nice experiencing it as well. There was a point in day 3 where I was just kind of like in my thoughts about something, it's just whatever. But like I decided to like stop by there at the sanctuary, and they were so nice. They were just giving me like a lot of support. I was paired up with one person there, and I was able to talk through my feelings and like go through my thoughts about things, and like they even provided like a pillow, blanket. So it was a nice space to just like chill out if you're feeling overstimulated, which it happens sometimes on festivals. As you know, a lot of things can happen, and you can't always like control everything, right? It's a nice service to have, and it's nice to know that there's people in the festival that can help you work through those challenging moments in the festival. I definitely recommend checking out your the sanctuary if you're ever in that kind of state. Okay, so the next part right here in the map is called a jive joint. I also didn't stop by this place. I'm not actually sure what was happening there. It seems like kind of like it looks like a stand-up place. I'm not really sure. Maybe there's like, you know, acts there as well. It was like a little corner, but I didn't really like go there specifically because I guess I was just too busy with like other things in the festival. There's too many things to explore. There's a bunch of side quests, so I was kind of like wrapped up with all of my other side quests. But definitely check that out if you if you just wanna explore different kinds of entertainment. Okay, so and then the next part right here is called the Yoga Soul. So this is like the second yoga spot. That's like the parallel to the Luna Soul place, or Luna Yoga. Yeah, it's another like little covered space, a shaded area where you can get yoga mats for your classes. And then one of my other favorite names here in this part of the map is the Rink-a-Dink Roller Rink, where you can just put on some roller skates and, like, you know, enjoy some music there. It's right across from the main lightning stage, so you can also like hear the performers from there as well. And then you have the Artclave. I believe there's also art classes here you can take, so you can, you know, listen to a bunch of like workshops from different artisans, and, you know, maybe try something new with like painting or whatever. So that's the Artclave. They have really amazing, honestly, like, I don't know how these people make this kind of art, but it's just really like psychedelic, trippy, all that stuff. Like you cannot even like fathom how intricate this art is. And then at nighttime, the Artclave is all, I think they're all blacklight art too, which is pretty amazing. Like the Artclave is definitely a place to be if you want to check out some visually stunning pieces. Next part right here, which is just right in front of the Artclave, it's a nice little place called the Art Walk. So during the first couple days of festival, if you're going for the 3 days, you don't really see much there. But at the third day of the festival, there's a bunch of live painters that have been working on their art throughout the festival time. The third day, they bring out all the different pieces to this like gallery area, the Art Walk, and I think they auctioned them off. Because they were all set up with all their like, you know, Instagram handles and like contact information. And I think there was like a little clipboard or what, I don't know, well, whatever it was. It's a place to either like, I think purchase or like, you know, be part of the auction for like the art stuff. Also met one of my favorite artists there, which is really amazing. Shout out to you, Luke. It's really nice to, you know, meet you there again. Hope to see you in the next one. You can definitely check out all the live painters and what they have been working on during the festival. It's pretty mind-blowing what these artists can do given the time of the festival. I remember seeing an artist who was working on their painting right next to the lake. I saw him like start it day 1 and completed day 3. And I'll show you guys the picture right here of what that piece looked like. Like, you cannot believe that this guy or all these different artists made these paintings over the span of 3 days. It's quite amazing. It's definitely something to like check out during the last day of the festival. Then throughout the sides of the festival, you have a bunch of marketplace vendors. Go through every single shop in that festival because the amount of creativity, the amount of really themed kind of like vendors that are there, it feels like I got, and I keep saying this again, but it feels like I keep getting like dropped off in one of my video games and going to like these different merchants, like purchasing like, you know, gear and stuff or whatever, because the amount of like really mystical, like magical items and like jewelry and outfits you can get from this festival is like astronomical. You feel like you're in a different time and space, and the vendors really show that as well. And then the last bit right here, which I forgot to pass by, I think earlier in the map, there is karaoke. So I think it's near the junkyard stage, but there is karaoke. You can have a karaoke time with your friends. So yeah. So when it comes to the decorations and the theme of the festival, like, I think it's already pretty obvious how fantastical and multi-dimensional the art in this festival is. There are a bunch of like art installations that only get revealed at nighttime. So daytime, it's either they're boxed up or put away. Nighttime is when the real magic actually happens, and it's pretty crazy how much the space transforms after the sun sets. And since it's right next to a lake, when you look across the other side of the festival in the lake, it's just beautiful, like kaleidoscopic colors, like reflecting on the water. Also in the trees, because there are trees here, so it also reflects in the leaves and the branches. So they really thought of everything, how to play with the light. I love how visionary these people are, to be honest. So for example, one of these art installations, they have a in the daytime it's like a boxed crate, and at nighttime when they open it, it's an infinite tesseract thing. Like, it's gigantic too, so you could already imagine people passing by there. There's also certain art installations where you kind of have to interact with it some way to make something happen. So I believe it was like this little squiggly kind of like rotating sculpture. So me and my friends noticed that there's like these buttons that you can like press. They're like situated on the trees or something around that sculpture. And when we pressed it a certain way, like there's like all these effects that started to happen. It's like, whoa. But yeah, I love how interactive these installations are as well. As far as the cleanliness and maintenance of the festival, lighting in a bottle is literally the cleanest one I've ever been to. And I think even Skrillex kind of like shouted out the festival organizers during his set, but everybody was picking up trash, and that's just part of the ethos of the people there. It's part of the 6 ways of LIB to take care of the land. We have to respect the land, and that just like kind of drives through the crowd as well. And they even have a word for flying trash, which I believe it's the same word that they use at Burning Man. It's called MOOP, M-O-O-P. It reminds me of like the SpongeBob like acronym, but anyways, M-O-O-P or MOOP. It stands for matter out of place. It kind of like just parallels like the mindset, like, hey, if there's something flying around, if like Mother Nature kicks in the wind and it blows away a bunch of different things in the air, then try to catch that and put it away in the trash so that it doesn't harm the environment or the animals there. So I just love how that's just part of the festival culture. So water stations were very abundant across the festivals. Like, they were all these like high pressure faucets, so it only took a few seconds to fill up your Camelback or bottle. And you didn't have to worry about the festival running out of water, like maybe, I don't know, Hard Summer 2016.
The wishy wobbling in that ass though. Got a big old booty, can't even fit it in her pants, yo. The wishy wobbling in that ass though. Got a big old booty, can't even fit it in her pants, yo. Goddamn, bro.
Yeah. They have a bunch of charging stations in the festival as well. They have it usually across the bar, or in like a shaded area with like a bunch of misters as well. I believe that's the one in the lightning stage. I literally just like had to plug in my phone at the station and maybe get a little drink. And I took like a nice little, restful lounge at the grassy area. So it was nice to like have that. They also have chargers inside the lockers if you're gonna rent a locker. So if you want to leave your important materials or important items like your wallet, keys, all those things, put them in the locker, and there is a bunch of wires that can charge your phone inside as well. So you didn't have to worry about dancing too much and maybe like losing a wallet or other things when you're like jumping around. So it's a really nice, convenient way to make sure your items are safe. The staff, obviously, super friendly. I really want to shout out the crew of Lightning in a Bottle. They're super helpful. They honestly, the staff there, they kind of function like a mycelial network. And if you know what that is, you'll get what I mean. It's not like they kind of leave you alone with information they don't know. Like if you ask them about something and they're not sure what it is, they either ask someone from a different station or radio someone real quick so they can actually get you the right information. It's not like they just oh, I don't work in that department, so I don't know. They actually take the effort to reach out to their other coworkers and teams, which how it should be. First of all, I already mentioned the sanctuary, which is a great spot. There are a lot of chill out spots scattered throughout the festival grounds. I remember one time in the morning after the Gong Sanctuary sound bath, me and my friends, we were just chilling by the lake, and these I think they're kind of trampoline lounge or chairs that are pretty big, like trampoline beds. Well, actually, it's like nets, right? You can just sit down in these nets and like kind of just, wait for the day to start and just kind of like have a smooth brain time, Like there's some days where you definitely need like wrinkly brain time, but this was smooth brain time. So again, lots of lounge areas, really relaxing spaces. As far as the lineup and the artist diversity, there is definitely like a bunch of unique talent. I would say they would gear more towards the niche kind of like genres that are out there. Very experimental artists, very like avant-garde, I would say. I mean, you have your house, you have your bass, you have your techno music, but all these artists are definitely more in like the niche kind of areas of the music world. I love how there's a bunch of international artists that were there as well, because I remember like walking through or just, going through each stage across the festival grounds and being a nomad. I loved how each stage had its own kind of area of the world. Like in the junkyard stage, I remember listening to this artist that had a bunch of like Brazilian or South American sounds. I felt like I was in the Amazon jungles in that stage. And then I went over to the crossroads. There was this like African sounds, that just drums and everything, and that just like kept me going for like a while. And I hop over to like the woogie, and of course it's like really funky house music. So I just love the curation of all these different kind of like genres and throughout the different stages. Honestly, this is a festival where you don't really like, it doesn't even matter if there's like these huge names on the lineup. It's a really exploratory festival, and they encourage you to check out different artists too. It's the best festival to like wander around and just see what's up in each state, because it's like it really doesn't matter like who you know or who you like not know, right? You're just there to explore and enjoy the vibes there. So I really think that's the part of the ethos of the festival too. It's there for you to like explore and like see maybe something new that you like, right? And expose you to all these different like artists that are like coming up in the scene. So I really love that. There's definitely like a handful of artists I started following after the festival. Like try it out too. Like even if you're with a group of friends, try to be a festival nomad, like by yourself with their own kind of like, internal drive of exploring these places. Like it's such a great place to do that. So when it comes to like sound quality and stage production, I kind of already mentioned this when I was talking about the stages earlier in this vlog, but the artists really do not feel like they're far away from the crowd like in other festivals. I would say in EDC, it's like gigantic sculptures, right? These gigantic kind of like environments where you really feel super tiny when you're right next to these stages, which is great for that kind of like space, right? But in Lightning in a Bottle, it's really like very intimate, very like close to the artist. It's so easy to like get a good view of the artists that are there. Even if it's like super packed. I think the only crowd issue that I encountered during that time was when there was the surprise guest at the Junkyard stage, which you probably heard. Rufus Du Sol had a surprise DJ set. And also, funny story about that, I decided to bring a bunch of outfits in this festival. Shout out to Nabuha. But yeah, one of the outfits that I wore, it was specifically made for Rufus Du Sol's Surrender tour. And I happened to bring it to the festival, and they were the surprise DJ set at the Junkyard stage. So it was all in alignment. It just fell into place, and it was just amazing to like see them. I unfortunately wasn't able to like go through the crowd for that one. The sound system was enough for me to still vibe outside that area of the stage, because I think literally everybody from every corner of the festival started to like parade towards the Junkyard stage because they found out that Rufus Du Sol was playing. So I mean, hopefully you guys return for next year. Hopefully you guys can like get Rufus Du Sol to play at the main stage, because I know they have a new album coming up too. So yeah, it was like still great vibes. Like I really enjoyed the Rufus Du Sol set. And that's the other thing too. Like they have a bunch of like surprise artists that are on the lineup. There's a bunch of like these different icons or blocked out sets in the festival, which I know it happens in other festivals as well, but you know, it's the element of surprise. I always love seeing that in festivals. Like I said earlier, these stages are very like DIY. That's like definitely one of the highlights of the festival. You can get super close to the front of the stage. I personally didn't have any issues with the crowd. You know, it was pretty easy to navigate. Even at the main stage, at the lightning stage, me and my friends, we were like super close to the front, and it still felt like there was so much space to move around and like, you know, dance your heart out. So it was a nice kind of layout, and the crowds were not pushy. They didn't have like, you know, those trains of people not saying excuse me, like it didn't really have that. And I guess one more note about crowds, you know, I can't always guarantee, well, you can never always guarantee that it's gonna be always good, right? But I just think collectively speaking, the crowd has this certain consciousness mindset that emanates a lot of respect. And they really understand what plur means, you know? Because I feel like, honestly, plur is kind of hard to find in a lot of the other main festivals these days. There's just been so much like messiness going on with like, you know, the videos of like fights that I've been seeing, and it's not really like the best thing to, you know, see as like someone who's been gone to like raves and festivals for like the past 10 years. It's really, and I think that's part of also the reason why I wanted to like change up my festival scene. And, you know, really lightning in a bottle, it answered all my questions, and like it kind of like relieved all my anxieties about it, because I honestly feel like, and it's like an opinion piece, but like I don't feel as safe anymore in the other festivals that I've been to. There's just been so much like safety issues with the crowd in other festivals that I don't want to like expand too much about it, but that's just kind of like the current vibe, unfortunately. And I didn't feel that at all. I didn't have those anxieties with me in this festival, which already says a lot about how the people are there. So, you know, I really appreciate the culture that keeps it all together at LIB. There were amazing food and drink options at LIB. Like, I think you can already guess what kind of food options they have based on like what I've shared about, you know, the crowd and the aesthetics and the ethos of the festival. But, you know, there's a lot of plant-based vegan options for sure, a lot of healthy choices out there. I remember like one of the days I just got like an acai bowl, and the prices were, I mean, you know, they're still festival prices, but they're not like crazy expensive, you know. It's not like you're paying like $25 or $30 for chicken nuggets or tenders. You have the option of like really healthy food, healthy drinks, all these different elixirs for your, you know, microbial gut, or like just mood enhancers, or like adaptogenic herbs. There's just like a bunch of these different options that you wouldn't normally see in other festivals. And it's really nice that like you have all these different dietary varieties, right? However, pricing of food items is, you know, it can rack up if you keep buying from the vendors, right? So if you really want to save your money in this festival, I highly recommend meal prepping all your stuff. If you have like if you have a way to like, you know, store food, like a mini fridge or something, which I've seen people bring in their you know, group campsites or whatever, mostly in like the RVs for sure. Like for example, my college friends, that they were able to meal prep a bunch of food, put it in their like fridge in their RV, and, you know, they were able to share with me. Like, you know, shout out to you guys. Like, thank you guys so much for making me feel welcome in your RV. Shout out to like Gabe, Jonah, Mark, May, Ronald, and Adriana for like allowing me to like be a special guest in your RV. I got a bunch of like snacks from them, and like, you know, some meals. They were like the halfway point between my campsite and the festival ground, because unfortunately my tent was like at the very edge of the campsite, so it takes me about I would say 15 minutes to walk towards the festival grounds, and their RV was like much closer to the festival grounds than I was. So again, shout out to you guys. Love you guys so much. Thank you for being a huge part of my festival, LIB festival experience. I already covered the majority of the non-music entertainment and activities that you'll see at this festival based on the map. There's definitely like endless side quests that you can do. There are a bunch of like random things that you'll find that you can like interact with, and it's just, you know, part of the whole experience of like the exploratory vibe, right? There are family-friendly options if, let's say, you are a parent that would like to bring their kid. There is a separate family campsite area, and also a place where there is special programming for the kids as well. I would say, like, for the most part, like, because you'll see kids with, like, you know, their little costumes and maybe riding on their parents' shoulders, and they have like these noise canceling headphones. The parents that do bring their kids to LIB, they already know what they're doing. They know how to give them the talk about what they might see at the festival. So, you know, don't have to worry much about them, to be honest. There's definitely like an established ethos of like a community looking out for each other pretty much. And you won't see these kids like in the middle of the crowd. They're like mostly on the outskirts of these different stages. So overall atmosphere, I mean, what else can I say about it? Like, there's just already so much mentioned earlier about how fantastical and magical this place is. If you're at the front of the main stage, you're not going to encounter like pushy people. Like, people actually say, "Excuse me." And unfortunately, the bar has been very low as of late because of all this shit that's been happening in other festivals. Which is why, if you're planning to go, I really highly recommend, please, 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 follow the 6 ways of LIB. They're definitely more on the mature side of the demographics. I'm kind of guessing that the average age would be like, you know, mid-30s. You know, all these different people that have done so much work already with their communities, and it's really nice to see like that culmination of all that energy in those different workshops and spaces. They really give off that I've been in this game for like a while now vibe. I feel like when it comes to people's egos, I didn't really, at least in my experience, I didn't really notice any egotistical people out there. I think because of what LIB is, the ego is very like spread out. It's not like concentrated into like, you know, certain people. And you'll get what I mean once you experience it yourself. But yeah, that's how I can like pretty much describe the festival crowd in LIB. Once you start noticing that people are actually like, you know, picking up the trash and like they respect each other genuinely, and they just care for each other's like well-being, like as all festivals attendees should be doing. Yeah. But apparently that's not the standard. This is also the festival where it's the best time to people watch, because the fashion that they bring in this festival, like, oh my goodness, it's the festival fashion I've been wanting to see for a long time. You actually see that people are curating their outfits in like a really full like display. Like it's a well thought out ensemble of garments and outfits. And besides like the fashion, you have people that are just like, you know, cosplaying their alternate fantasy selves from a different universe. Because I've met fairies, I met elves, I met druids, wizards, sorcerers, tieflings, all those like, you know, magical beings that you would find in your video games. Like, they're all there in one, like, you know, community. You don't know who you're gonna see there. And honestly, I think I'm gonna do that next year as well. Like, I'm gonna come in as a druid. It's like the multiverse just like open its portals in Lightning in a Bottle. That's how I can describe that. So if it's your first time going to LIB, one of the main tenets that it's part of their 6 ways of LIB is to keep an open mind. You'll have people there that are just embracing their weird, and that's totally fine. Like, people have all these different ways of expressing themselves, and no one bats an eye. Like, I literally saw someone walk their rave lobster in the morning. So what? You can be an alien, you can be a satyr, you can be, you know, a magical celestial being just running around with like a mushroom cap on your head. Whatever. Like, there's literally no limit to the different ways you can express yourself, and you can clearly see that in the people here. With all the other creative things that you see here, you also see that with the attendees. They just bring in all their arts, they're bringing in all their like, you know, special abilities and like talents or whatever. It's a bunch of like talented people just like showing off their like best versions of themselves at this festival, and it's just an explosion of human creativity. As far as the weather, I mean, if you've been to like Californian festivals in the past, I'm pretty sure you already know what to expect. There's always going to be dust and wind and the heat, so that's not really a surprise anymore. I would say like the only thing really is to make sure that if you're setting up your camps, when you get in, lock down your canopies and tents to your car with some kind of rope as fast as you can, because I remember coming into the campgrounds the day one and there was a huge gust of wind, and all of a sudden I see a bunch of large moop, the matter out of place, flying around in a mini tornado. Like people's like tents and canopies were like caught in that gust of wind. So again, lock down or tie down all those different objects to your car first when you set up your camping space. Memorial Day weekend, it's like that part of the season where you're kind of transitioning into summer. So, the weather could fluctuate. I mean, it did get hot by noon. It was the heat.
It's when it's so hot.
It's the heat.
But the heat wasn't unbearable. There was like so many ways to cool down throughout the festival because, like I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of misters scattered throughout the different stages. Some of the bars in like shaded areas have those misters that cool off the surrounding area. There's also obviously the lake. You can just swim in the lake if you feel hot from like the weather. Also, you can bring your parasols, different shades. That's actually part of their merchandise. They have like LIB parasols you can just like bring around. At nighttime, it's just the right temperature. It's not too cold and not too hot. It's like the right cool night temperature. But if you are sensitive to cold, a light jacket is fine at nighttime, and you can put it store it in your locker. So overall, the wind situation, I think that was just mostly day one. For that weekend, although I did hear from previous attendees that the dust was the main issue of the festival. However, I did see comments saying that like they really improved on dust management this past year because on top of like improving the grass coverage of the festival grounds, they also hired a bunch of trucks with water to spray down on these dirt pathways so that the dust settles. And it doesn't get like kicked up by the winds too much. So that's another highlight for the organizers as well. What's nice about the camping areas is that there are showers available for you to use, and it's like a shower truck and it has hot water. Although you do have to pay, which is whatever, it is a really nice amenity to have. If you really want to get that layer of dust off your skin, you have the showers at the campsites available to use. 8 a.m. I'm just getting to my shower and there's a morning party. Okay, so I pretty much finished detailing all the different things that you might see at the festival grounds. So now I'm moving on to my constructive criticisms about just a couple things, okay? There are some areas needing improvement, and one of those areas would be the programming of certain workshops. I don't know who organizes these different places in the festival, but one of the workshops, specifically the presenter of the workshop, something kind of like was not sitting right with me when I saw it. Basically what happened was that I was signing up for a bunch of different learning kitchen workshops. One of them was specifically titled, Durian Elixir of Immortality. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's my hometown's fruit. I come from Davao City in the Philippines, which is, Southeast Asia. So durian was like one of our main delicacies there. And when I saw the workshop, I was like, okay, cool. So they're gonna share a recipe about it, right? And talk about maybe like esoteric or symbolic things about this fruit. However, when I saw the presenter, he was not of my culture. He wasn't even part of any Southeast Asian culture. And if you're gonna ask that question, yes, he was. So That didn't sit right with my spirit. It was literally telling me, okay, I'm not about to learn about my own culture's fruit from this guy. So I would say if he would have shared the space, like co-hosting it, and gave it to someone of that culture, like someone who's Filipino or of Southeast Asian descent, that would have been a lot better, because you're also trying to present it as like there's a lot of like symbolic wisdom around it, right? It would have been a lot better if you would ask like an indigenous person or someone like an herbalist, a Filipino herbalist, to explain what are the different health benefits, but also like spiritual symbolisms of this fruit. So I would say for whoever is programming future workshops in general in like these different stations across the festival, just please be mindful of who the presenter is, and if they are extracting cultural knowledge without collaborating with a cultural representative, or else it'll just lean into more appropriation than appreciation. I mean, that's really my only note. I do want to highlight too that there are amazing workshops there. One of them was called the Mayan Cosmovision by Nana Marina Cruz. She's this South American elder that shared different symbols of the Mayan culture. I also went to the Way of Aloha with Kumu Ramsey Tome. I'm not sure how to say the last name. I apologize for that. But I want to shout out to you as well. Thank you for sharing your deeper wisdom and knowledge about the meaning of aloha. So I appreciate you sharing the Hawaiian culture with us. I also love the cacao ritual by Madali Love. We were, building relationship with each other during this ritual. And developing our relationship to cacao as well. So, those workshops were great because they either had an indigenous elder, a wisdom keeper, or someone that had like the cultural ancestry that would allows them to share the knowledge. So that is my only note for the festival, really. Like, in terms of programming, I would love to see a lot more queer and BIPOC representation happening for the following years. You guys are already doing like an amazing job with what you already have, but again, it's just like kind of like ironing out those cultural representatives bit, making sure that you're being mindful of who you book for those different spots in the schedule. So my favorite event that I attended at LIB was the MAPS Neuroscience, Neurodivergence, and Consciousness panel. It's pretty much a bunch of like really influential figures in the therapy space, sharing all their work and all the different updates that they've done and all the future projects that they will do. I'm currently working on my master's to be a licensed marriage family therapist, and I happened to network with someone at that panel who is already a licensed marriage family therapist who also lived in the Bay Area, and he also happens to be an Aquarius. And shout out to you, Sarwan. I'm really glad I met you there. There's just all these different moments that kind of just happen where you just meet the right people at the right time in the festival, and that happened so often. It was actually pretty like scary how that all these serendipitous moments just kind of like coalesce in this festival. One of the other things that I really want to share with you all is that if you're going to these workshops, don't be afraid to reach out and connect with someone there. It's really meant for you to meet new friends, meet maybe important figures that might help you out with whatever you're working with. Maybe in terms of career, your personal life, maybe someone that you can partner up with some creative pursuits. I'm telling y'all right now, LIB is not just a music festival. It's a space where you can network with or meet someone new in maybe the therapy field, in the spiritual community, in the holistic wellness community, in the higher consciousness realm. It's a hodgepodge of all these different practices, all these different artistic endeavors. You might meet someone that can help you out with all your different projects. So really engage with the crowd there. Really find out what people are doing with their lives outside of the space. There's even a workshop where I believe her workshop was called Sexplained. She is a doctor who was deconstructing the patriarchal medical field and how these terms are shaming women's bodies. There's all these very like-minded people that are kind of deconstructing reality. They're deconstructing the matrix. They know how to like navigate these kind of like not just esoteric or mystical stuff, but real world like practical things that we gotta fix in our society. It's nice to see everybody like gather in this kind of community and actually have these important conversations that really are, you know, you can plant so many seeds for the future in this place. So, you know, LIB is the place for that to happen. There's really not enough words to describe what you could experience at Lightning in a Bottle. It's the multiverse. It was everything everywhere all at once. It was Baldur's Gate 3. It was Krakoa Island of X-Men. And if you understand all those references, we're automatically friends. But yeah, like I highly recommend just check it out. Like check out if the festival fits your vibe, right? Don't be chasing the lineups, explore the music, and really respect the culture. That's all I gotta say.